Hi, I'm Dr. Francis, and today I want to show you how you can create an Azure virtual machine. So it's going to be direct and simple. I'm just going to skip all unnecessary details and assume that you just want to know how to create a virtual machine. So to do that, you first need to have an Azure account, of course. So if you don't have one already, please create a free trial account with Azure. Just go to portal.azure.com, this thing here, and then try to create like a free account. Once you have that and you log on, this is what you're going to see. So go to the home button, scroll to the virtual machine here, and then you have it. So wait for it, and then to add a new virtual machine, click the add, select virtual machine here. Yeah, wait for it a little bit. So it's going to present you with all the details that you need for you to create a virtual machine. Firstly, you have to notice that I have a free trial account like I told you to create. And for every resource in Azure or Microsoft Azure, you need to have a resource group where that resource is going to stay. For a virtual machine, we need to add like a resource group. And for this resource group, we have to think about the name that we need to call this resource group. Maybe something like this may suffice. It may be fine. VM tutorial RG. So you can name it whatever thing that you want to name. So again, you have to give your virtual machine a name. It's usually important, for example, to reflect, to make the name meaningful. For example, reflect the environment for which you're creating it for. I want to assume that I'm creating it here for dev environment, and you can reflect the location where you want to put it. In this case, I'm using this to represent the Western Europe, and maybe the purpose, for example, I want to use it for the application server. And yeah, with this, I form the name of the virtual machine. Just make sure that you don't exceed 15 characters in the name if you intend to create a Windows virtual machine. For Linux, it can be more. Region, I'm going to leave it as Western Europe, like I said before. Here, the availability zone. I can even decide to have no infrastructure. In this case, I'm saying that I'm not giving so much emphasis on that. And I think that's fine for this quick one. And yeah, like I said before, I want to create a Windows virtual machine. So the virtual machine should have Windows operating system, and therefore I select Windows right here. So again, I need to select the size of what I want, how big I want the virtual machine to be. So, and of course, you know that there is a price tag for each of the size that you choose. So I'm just going to leave it here at standard. And yeah, because that I think serves my purpose. Choose a username. I'm going to just say admin1, and that's it. Choose a password that is suitable, satisfies, these attributes. Here I'm going to try to choose, and then that's fine. And that's fine. So next we choose whether we want to allow some port open or not. So if we choose none, it means we are not allowing any port open. If we choose allow selected ones, then we now specify the port that we are letting open. In this case, it's 3389 because I want to connect to this machine through the RDP. Having said that, I don't have an existing license, so I set this to no. And then I go to the disk option. I'm just going to be quick because I don't want to overload the video. Here, the disk type, I'm going to just choose standard because that's going to be sufficient for, what I'm using it for. And then I leave every other thing as default. And then I switch to management. And here also, I'm going to basically leave everything at default. But, in a working environment, if you were creating this VM for work, for example, it should have a network where it would belong. and it should have a subnet where it should belong, and then of course here the IP if you choose to have it. Now, the virtual network can be curated for you if you don't curate it, because a VM needs to be in a virtual network, and then the subnet as well. So if you have this already defined, and for example in workplaces this is already defined, and you have to choose the one you want. So in this case, the network security group basically serves like kind of firewall. I'm going to leave it as basic as it is, and then of course maintain the allow selected port, which I chose before, and then also keep the RDP there. And then every other thing, leave it as default, and then I go further. Here, I'm going to leave all of these as default. The only thing I would like to change, I usually do, is to disable boot diagnostics. This is just a choice, and of course you can enable it if you can enable it if you choose to. And then here we have the advanced setup. Leave it as default as leave it at default as it is, unless you want to change some things. For me, in my case, I think that the default is sufficient for this quick demo, and then I'm just gonna go to tags. On tags, you can add, for example, who created this VM, and whatever information you want to pass across. Imagine that you're working in a team and you want them to have some detail about who created this VM and all that. So here I'm just going to leave it as default, and then go ahead to review and create. What this does is to check if the values I've entered is sufficient and suitable for creating a VM. If that is the case, it's going to say validation passed, as we have seen here. And once the validation is passed, take note of all the details that you've entered, and then you just hit create. So by that, you're basically creating the virtual machine. You just need to wait for it a little bit, because it can take a couple of minutes, and I don't need to bore you with that. I'm going to come right back when it is created. So now the VM is created, the deployment is complete, and you can go to resource by clicking here, which means go to view the VM that you just created, and you can see the attributes here and all of the settings that we just entered. So that's how you create an Azure VM, and see you on the next one. Consider subscribing to our channel. We are just starting, and your support is very important for us.